And the Oscar goes to... Thank you all. Thank you for this incredible honor. I know I speak for everyone standing behind me that it has been an absolute privilege.
Buggy Heat is a racing game that I think we've already established involves buggies. I think you can pick that up from the title at least. Your first thoughts might be that this game has a surprisingly poor presentation, tacky, cheap some might say. It might lead you to suspect that Buggy Heat is a poorly made game that should be thrown in the bargain bin to rot, but your suspicions would actually be wrong because this is a surprisingly fun game. It's not the most detailed or precision made game out there, but it's quite enjoyable to play. It has all the gameplay mechanics working well. You can pick from a nice variety of buggies and drivers. I went for the German because, you know, he's German. At least I think he's German. Anyway, you can also customise your buggy with the sort of technical stuff you'd expect from Gran Turismo or something like that. It's pretty clear the developers wanted to give it a realistic simulation of buggy racing rather than some simplistic arcade racer where the aim is to just go as fast as you can, like a lot of the other racers on the Dreamcast, sorry, I should say. The gameplay itself, as I said previously, is pretty damn tight. Your buggy isn't easy to control by any stretch of the imagination, but this just adds to the realism and the experience. The tracks have rough terrain, which brings a new dynamic to the whole thing. You're bumping about here, there, and everywhere in these off-road tracks set in various different locations. It's challenging, but fun. And that kind of sums up my whole experience with the game. I found it all rather enjoyable. However, there could have been more modes implemented in this game. There's a rather basic championship mode where you get to race in a few tracks, a time attack mode, a mode where you can fight against ghost times, and that's about it really. Nevertheless, the gameplay does make up for the lack of varied content within the game, and I'd recommend Buggy Heat if you're just looking for a quick, fun racing romp.
Headhunter is terrible. There, I said it. Terrible. It's a number of terribly designed ideas, terribly executed, and that's what makes it so bad. Are we clear? Now, let's start from the beginning. Headhunter described itself as a tactical adventure where stealth and espionage aren't the best way to survive, they're the only way. Well, there isn't much tactics involved in this game, neither is there much stealth nor espionage. For the majority of the time, Headhunter is spent wandering around doing problem-solving tasks in order to get to the next area, where for 2 minutes you duck and shoot, and then you're back to problem-solving tasks again. Rinse and repeat. That's Headhunter in a nutshell. No stealth is needed in the game. The enemy AI is so bad that if you simply duck then pop up and shoot, you'll rarely be in any danger of being killed. The AI also has issues detecting things that aren't right in front of them. The camera's pretty bad too. I was constantly finding myself having to center it because I couldn't actually see what I wanted to see. You know, I never thought I'd be using game FAQs to solve puzzles in a so-called action game, but here we are. Here's an example. I need to find this guy called Grey Wolf or something. I need a battery to operate a crane thing, so I find it, I move the crane thing, get a car wash token, use the car wash token on the wash machine thing, which opens the door, so we can go in and find a locker key, which opens a locker, which has an electric cord in it, which I can use to replace a broken one on the power unit, so I can then bring down a car with a fire extinguisher in it, and I then take the extinguisher and use it to put out the burning car, and take a control bar from a button body, so I can pry open a door barricaded by wooden planks, so I can get a key card, and then have a cutscene encounter with Grey Wolf. By the way, in this entire section, I sporadically killed about 4 or 5 guys around the entire area. Yup. An action game packed full of thrills and intensity. The story and characters are so cheesily and badly done, they're not even worth caring about. Our hero, Jack Wade, is clearly Solid Snake inspired, even down to the voice acting. In fact, Headhunter has its own version of VR missions from the Hideo Kojima classic, called Layla. Did I mention that you have to do Layla training ever so often throughout the game in order to get a better Layla license in order to continue with the game? Yup. The optional training from Metal Gear Solid is compulsory in this. In fact, the whole game seems like a cash-in on its popularity at the time. The board meeting probably went like this. Oh, that Metal Gear Solid game's playing popular, let's try that. Oh, did I also mention there's a driving section between every single mission? It's literally just an attempt to squeeze time out of you. You're just driving from objective to objective, mission to mission. There's nothing else to do when you're driving while driving around. Your motorbike also has atrocious handling, just to add insult to injury. Right, I'll stop now. Headhunter isn't a badly made game. It's free of bugs, the controls aren't that difficult to handle, and the game isn't too challenging at all, aside from the moronic puzzle design. But as I said at the start, Headhunter is a mashup of poorly designed ideas mixed with even worse execution, and that's just a recipe for disaster. Surprisingly, from what I've seen on the internet, people actually quite like this game. The Japanese guy who wrote the game FAQ's walkthrough said it was his favourite Dreamcast game ahead of Illbleed, which is ironically another terrible game. He also finished with, "Buy it or you will regret it for the rest of your life." I'll regret the minutes and hours I wasted playing this for the rest of my life. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe he's right. Do you really want to find out? The Polish are famous for a few things. Walkie-talkies, The Witcher, Robert Lewandowski, Two Worlds, My Horse and Me Too. Yeah, you get the point. But the Polish have another thing up their sleeve, and it's called Kao the Kangaroo, a platformer. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to talk about this game, because there's no real overall unique concept to the game. It's just a platformer. A platformer that has little new concepts other than you play as a kangaroo. And that is the issue with Kao the Kangaroo. It's just a platforming game we've all played plenty of times. Fact is, there's no real reason to fit this up the likes of Crash Bandicoot or Super Mario 64 or even the Dreamcast one's Sonic Adventure. I mean, the game's pretty well done, there's no obvious flaws in the gameplay and it plays like a platformer should do. But the game is just awfully generic. There's nothing that makes this game stand out in the world of 3D platformers, a genre that enjoyed significant popularity at the time of Kao the Kangaroo's release, thanks to the aforementioned titles. Kao the Kangaroo is the true definition of an average run-of-the-mill game. You won't love it, but you won't hate it. You won't become attached to it, but you won't show contempt towards it. It doesn't please, yet it doesn't offend. It is a straight line 180 degree 5 out of 10 type game. Have I got the point across already? Kao the Kangaroo simply uses established platforming nuances in place at the time without any real new concepts. It settled for mediocrity instead of taking a risk. And that type of game, my friends, is surely the worst type of game. Power Stone is easily one of the best, if not the best, fighting game on the Dreamcast. That's quite a statement to make, especially considering the Dreamcast boasts likes of Soul Calibur, Marvelous Capcom 2, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. What evidence do I have to back it up? The fact that Power Stone is just pure, crazy, hectic, simple fighting brilliance. Power Stone is unique in the fact it offers a full 3D arena for you to fight in. You can move across an entire area in any sort of direction you want, something new and very much unseen in the fighting genre at the time. You also have a fully interactive environment. See that chair? You can pick it up and throw it at your opponent. There are also other aspects to the gameplay. If you collect 3 different coloured gems in the stage, you activate a special version of your character which allows you to use much more powerful attacks, but only for a limited number of uses. This results in a frenzy as you and your opponent desperately try to get the gems which can turn the fight around in either's favour. Crazy, crazy stuff, but also crazy, crazy fun. There are also chests that are around the stage. These chests are full of weapons, swords, flamethrowers, pistols, bazookas. They're all attainable. This only adds to the already hectic playstyle of Power Stone. Did I mention it's crazy and hectic and intense and all that? Yeah, I think you got it by now. Power Stone is just pure fun. Power Stone isn't like other fire games. It isn't about learning combos or mastering your character's moveset. It's the kind of game that you can't do justice by simply describing it or doing a review of it. You have to play it for yourself to really understand it, and that's the beauty of Power Stone. But a wee word of advice. If you have the choice between Power Stone 1 and 2, go for 2. Why? Support for 4-player battles, stages that change mid-battle, and also new modes. But you're doing yourself a disservice if you see this game and you don't play it. So just play it. Did I say it was hectic fun? Yeah, by the way, it's really hectic.